everyone. Welcome back to the Sacramento County Board of Supervisors. Today's date is December 7, and it's 2:03 p.m., and we are ready to begin our afternoon agenda. And I'll ask the clerk if you'll please call the roll to establish quorum.
Yes. Supervisors Kennedy?
Here.
Natoli?
Here.
Desmond? Here. Cerna?
Here.
Frost?
Here.
And you have a quorum.
Thank you. First item, please.
Item 58 is the 2021 redistricting approval of the final supervisorial district map.
Hi, good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. I'm Natasha Drain, your Governmental Relations and Legislative Officer. We're here today for your action on a resolution to adopt the final supervisorial district map as seen in Exhibit A to the resolution. This final map is the result of a process that was on a much more shortened timeline than we would have liked and that we were not in control of. Despite this, the county was still able to conduct substantial community outreach through county news stories, social media, and the numerous public workshops conducted in person and virtually. The county also provided several ways for the public to provide its input, including at workshops and board hearings, via the county's redistricting email, as well as the online and paper mapping tools. The public took up the challenge of redistricting by submitting several of its own maps for consideration, and more than 200 written comments reflecting their interests, as well as the numerous public comments received during meetings. This final map is also the result of your deliberations that began on November 2nd with the first round of draft maps. Following the November 2nd meeting, we held a virtual workshop on November 6th seeking additional public input. The combination of supervisor discussion and public input resulted in an additional draft map presented to this board on November 16th. On November 17th, the board provided direction to NDC, the county's demographers, on a final draft map. A final draft map was posted on the county's redistricting website on November 19th so that the public could quickly see the board's direction on the final draft. Also, following the November 17th meeting, the county's GIS team worked with NDC to proof the map boundaries, ensuring that the boundaries reflected the board's discussion, and to address miscoding of census blocks to avoid sliver precincts and new ballot types. As a result, NDC and the county's GIS team made minor adjustments, and these are explained and reflected in Attachment 1. Following these adjustments, a final supervisorial district map was posted on the county's redistricting website on November 30th. Doug Yoakum with NDC is here if you have any questions about these adjustments. Finally, we have been asked when these new boundaries will take effect and how we will notify the public. The boundaries are effective immediately upon adoption by this board. We will notify the public in several ways. Following the board's adoption of the final supervisorial district map, Kim Nava will send out a news story noting the board's action and providing a link to the interactive map so that members of the public can see the new lines, and where they reside within them. The county also offers, for the public's benefit, several district lookup tools and online maps. Because of all these tools and maps use different source data, we are coordinating, updating all of these tools simultaneously in an effort to reduce confusion for the public. We anticipate that these tools and maps will be updated no later than the week of January 3rd. We will also include this information in the county's news story. Courtney Bailey Canales, the county's registrar, will also add a page to the voter information guide showing and explaining the new boundaries, as well as notifying registered voters via postcard prior to the June election. With that, that concludes my remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Natasha. We do have a couple of supervisors with questions. Supervisor Cerna.
Thank you. First of all, thank you, Natasha, for all your help in shepherding this effort over the past several weeks and months. I think we all understand that the expedited timeline made it even that much more challenging for all of our staff resources, but thanks to your leadership, I think we've had as good a process as we could hope for given those tight timelines. You mentioned that upon adoption today, the map becomes effective immediately. So does that mean that a sitting supervisor whose district changes substantially will immediately begin to receive, for instance, relative CPAC information, agendas. I mean, there's more to it than just declaring that the maps are now effective. It's going to come with some adjustment in terms of how, my colleagues and I are kept informed about any changes to any advisory bodies that are geographically specific to that new district. So I just wondered if you could comment on that.
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. Staff had a lot of conversation about what do we do now, and I think it's going to take some time to adjust. Yes, the boundaries take effect immediately, but I don't think that that means everything overnight turns over. It's going to take time to make the adjustments as you've suggested, and I hope that you and the public will have patience with us as we work on making those adjustments and getting everything put in place. I hope that answers your question.
Well, yeah, I really just raise it just to put the public's mind at ease too, that if you see a map or a portion of this map that appears to be somewhat dramatically different than the current map, don't feel like we're going to let things, fall through the cracks here. We're going to do our best to stay on top of things and make sure that, the sitting supervisor is paying close attention to the new territory or the loss of territory even based on what we do today. So Thank you.
Thank you.
And if I could just add briefly, legally, there's obviously no reason that the current supervisor can't continue to respond to constituent concerns. That's simply a matter of how the board divvies up its own business. So certainly that can be by arrangement of the supervisors that have had territory that's been moved around.
Great. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Supervisor Kennedy.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, Natasha, I agree. I think that you did a fantastic job through a difficult process, and I thank you for that. I'm just going to make a brief comment, and then I'll have my piece. I've had a lot of time in the last couple of weeks to reflect upon the process that we went through to get here, including talking to a fair amount in the community, people in the community, particularly the AAPI community. And when I reflect upon what the community that I'm hearing and the concerns that they have with our process, I have to say that it makes me uncomfortable. I will be voting no on this map because I do not feel that we adequately addressed community concerns. I had asked to look at combining land park. This is just one issue. Into one district, and I was told that there's no rationale for that, and I personally think that splitting a neighborhood is rationale enough. It was also stated that the LGBTQ community, as a community of interest, and nobody believes that it's a community of interest more than I do, would be impacted, but yet we received from the Queer Democrats, among others, of Sacramento, their organization sent us a map that showed the community of interest for the LGBTQ community going down to the freeway and not crossing the freeway. Also, the city of Sacramento passed a resolution formally adopting an LGBTQ community of interest. And Equality California's maps were actually used to help identify the data from results of Prop 8 and Prop 22. Membership from the Equality California, one of the state's largest LGBTQ organizations, domestic partners, same-sex heads of households, persons of same sex sharing living quarters, and other indicators or markers. Where there persons, those organizations clearly have expressed that the LGBTQ community of interest is largely based in the downtown Midtown, with a certain much smaller impact from East Sacramento, Curtis Park, and Land Park. That's just one example of where I think this map is flawed and the reasoning behind it was flawed. So I will just say that I don't think that drawing the districts up in the dais was a good practice. I don't think it's best practice. And I will also I realize it's 10 years early, but the farther these things get in your rearview mirror, the more chance they have of falling by the wayside. So at some point, I will be proposing the formation of an independent redistricting commission so that hopefully moving forward, we'll have a better process in one that I won't be participating in, but in redistricting in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, well, I want to say I can't believe all that you and NDC and all the staff did to pull all this together so quickly. I know that Doug Yoakum is out there. I don't know if he wished to say a couple words. Okay, answering
telling you no.
questions, no questions, done. And so I think did that conclude your presentation prior to us voting? We do have some public comment also. So you want to just...
I'll wait till after the public comment and your vote, and then I'd like to say a few words if possible.
Yes. Okay.
But I'll wait.
Okay. So let's move to public comment. We do have one in chambers, and I don't know if we have anyone on the phone.
And we do have at least one caller on hold.
Okay. Okay, so I'll call Mike Heller to the dais, or to the podium. Good afternoon, Mike. It's been a while since I've seen you.
It has been a while. Good afternoon. Chair Frost.
You have 2 minutes.
Supervisors, I'm actually going to leave that alone. Thank you. First of all, I also want to thank the county for the expediency of this. It's really appreciated. I also want to introduce Becky McDaniel, who is my board chair. I'm with the Rio Linda, Alberta Recreation and Park District. We had a number of people participate in the Zoom call a few Saturdays ago, and I know that Grand Park was mentioned, and Grand Park is west of Levy Road, the Sutter County line, Elkhorn to the south, and Highway 99 to the west. It's within our Recreation and Park District boundaries, and it is still situated in District 1, and I know that you guys worked really hard to include communities, try to keep them together, and we appreciate what happened in the southeast portion of Rio Linda. It got moved over to District 4. We believe that the Grand Park region area, it's 5,700 acres of land, which is within our Park District boundary, should also be in the same district as the rest of Rio Linda and Alberta. So we're hoping that you would consider having that moved over to District 4. We've reached out. It would not change population numbers right now because it's mostly farmland and uninhabited, but it is part of the unincorporated county and it is part of our park district. So we'd love to have all of Rio Linda and Alberta together in one supervisory district, and really appreciate you guys considering that and incorporating it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike. Supervisor Cerna has a comment.
I'd like to respond to that. Well, I understand the Park District sees that potential development area as impacting and having some influence and significance for their needs. I would just point out that the southerly boundary of those 5,700 acres abut the city of Sacramento. And so I can make the argument, I think, all day long that it belongs in District 1 with the rest of the city of Sacramento. For that reason, it's basically the same logic that was just explained for a small park district, and now we're talking about a city of almost 500,000 people. So while I appreciate the last-minute effort to try and get it into a different district, that argument falls flat with me. Thanks.
Thank you, Supervisor Cerna. And I think this was a comment that came over email or phone, and we asked Doug and Natasha if they could comment on it. So I'm going to ask you once more so that the public can hear your feedback, if you don't mind.
Sure. Doug Yoakum, National Demographics Corporation. Good to see you again. I have some notes here that I may have to refer to just a moment. Anyway, I do recall the comment on on the forum from the district. When I looked into it, it is uninhabited land, and it was decided by the board when we did this drawing that we would keep that line as a current line, and we would not change it. So I considered it. Like I said, there's nobody out there, and someone pointed out to me that it's in the park district, but apparently it's not in the water district. So there's some question as to whether it's Rio Linda or not. I'm sure everybody has an opinion, but it didn't. That issue did not rise to the surface when we were all together putting this map together. So I thought that when you made a decision to keep the line current, I thought that was a pretty good decision.
And I just want to comment on that also. I know in some of the other areas of the county, there are park districts and water districts that cross political lines. They're not all located within a certain jurisdiction. And I think, I just think that's normal. Wouldn't you concur, Doug?
Oh, yeah. Happens everywhere.
I know where the park district's coming from. They want to, they just want it to be the Rio Linda community. But the challenge, I think, is at this late date. I mean, that would be a conversation way early on to work our way through. This is like we have to have this approved, and we have to vote on it again on the 14th. And so it's difficult to go in and make changes at the last minute also, I think. So I thank you for your comments. And so with that, I thank you for clarifying
Thank you very
your
much.
thoughts on that, Doug. Okay, and we do have someone on the phone, or? Okay.
Yes, could you please transfer the caller? Hi, caller. Please start with your comments. You have 2 minutes.
Okay. Hello, my name is Samantha Alvarez, and I am part of the Sacramento community. I am calling in because I'm actually deeply disappointed by the map selection that the Board of Supervisors has made. I know that there is a lot of hard work that comes with mapping and making these decisions, but the fact that the County of Sacramento has made very minimal changes to the map that has been selected for adoption is truly disheartening. The decisions that we are making are not trivial. They are directly impacting our day-to-day lives for the next 10 years. So the way that the map is moved forward without keeping South Sacramento, Vineyard, and Elk Grove together makes no sense. It completely ignores the community of interest testimony. Not only that, but it also keeps the AAPI residents and other communities of color separated. It's a total neglect to the potential opportunities that keep communities whole, provide a stronger voice to select representation that is needed in our communities. And again, these decisions will be affecting us for the next 10 years. So I really do wish you guys reconsider not moving with this map forward. I have looked at the maps that have been submitted, and the one that represents more of our communities and is more reflective is map 101. It has a better portrayal of what our communities need. And also moving forward, I would request that the Board of Supervisors adopt an independent redistricting commission for the 2030 and beyond. Thank you so much for your time. I know a lot of hard work goes into this, but it will be affecting us for the next 10 years. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that concludes your public comments for calls.
Okay, and I think now at this time, Natasha had a few more comments, and I had some comments as well.
I was just going to take a moment of thanks, but if you'll indulge me, but I was going to wait till after you took your vote.
Okay, sure. Supervisor Desmond.
Since Natasha will speak, thank you, Madam Chair. Since Natasha will speak afterwards, I'll just pile on also and thank Natasha and Courtney and the rest of the county staff and Doug for your work. Natasha, you've been really terrific and responsive to all inquiries, and I think you've done an outstanding job throughout this process. I just want to thank you along with my colleagues here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Desmond. Supervisor Cerna.
I was just simply going to make a motion to adopt the map that's been presented to us.
Chair will second. Oh, and we have some comments from Supervisor Natalia.
Yeah, just to speak to the motion. I intend to support the motion and certainly appreciate the comments that we've received, and I think the serious consideration by community members that were submitted to both through our various portals, but certainly through this board. And again, I understand even from today's testimony, obviously there are still folks who see it differently, but I think our deliberations certainly were done in the public venue and with the ability for folks to both participate in chambers but by phone. And albeit there may be some disappointment, I think that we worked really hard to certainly address the myriad of guidance, guidelines, as well as obviously the things that are embedded in law, and try to do that in a way that I think fairly reflected certainly communities of interest, and recognizing that that's not a perfect process, but I think what we arrived at and what I intend to support reflects much of the direction guides we were given, and obviously will be something that we retain over the course of the next 10 years. But as this community continues to grow and we see neighborhoods populated and folks establishing and working in neighborhoods and in communities and so forth, I trust there'll be a good deal of input the next go around as well. But I want to just again add my thanks to our staff and to all the folks that participated, and with that, I intend to support the motion. Thanks.
And thanks to you, Supervisor Natalia, for the 5 times you've been through this?
Thank you, Supervisor Natalia.
And the 5th District continues to shrink. Grow in population, but geographically it continues to shrink.
Okay. Please vote.
And the motion carries with Supervisor Kennedy recording a no vote.
All right. We made it.
Excellent.
We made it through this step. We have one more step, I guess. We're going to vote again on the 14th on this, or no, we're done. This is it.
Today.
So we got under the wire before the 14th is what we're 15th. Mm-hmm. So
Yes.
I know you have some comments.
Thank you. Could we? We can zoom in a little bit on that. There you go. So this is the team of folks that worked on this project this year. You'll see it's a lot of staff here. But first, I'd like to thank each of you supervisors for trusting in us to administer the redistricting process on your behalf, and for your input along the way. I think it made the process better. I'd also like to thank Ann Edwards for giving me this opportunity to lead. It really has been a privilege. And to David for your partnership in this work. I'd also like to thank National Demographics Corporation, especially the Dougs, as we affectionately call them, Doug Yoakum and Doug Johnson, for guiding us throughout the process. Finally, at the board hearing on November 17th and today, you offered your gratitude for my work on this project. And while I'm grateful for that acknowledgement, the credit really belongs to all the staff, as you see them here, that worked incredibly hard this past year to ensure the success of this project. Redistricting, as you know, is no small undertaking, especially under a shortened timeline during the COVID era and with new rules requiring substantial community outreach. It required numerous staff to ensure that every public meeting went off without a hitch and that the county adhered to the Fair Maps Act and to public health guidelines. Given the size of this team, I won't take the time to thank everyone personally, though I'd like to. But I do want to personally thank Mike Morris, the team's project manager. Mike, you were the glue that held this team together and ensured the project's goals and objectives were met, always met. When you were faced with a challenge, you met it head on. Thank you, Mike. He was also our video voiceover. He might kill me for saying that. I'd also like to offer a collective thank you to the rest of the team that worked on redistricting. I thank you for your participation on this project, for being the best team of individuals we could have asked for, and for making the work on this project look easier than it really was. Your contributions were noticed and appreciated, and I am truly grateful. With that, if you would indulge me, please join me in thanking this team. Thank you.
I'm going to come down. I'm going to come down to the podium. I have a couple of words I want to say on behalf of the board.
Supervisor Frost, may I make a comment before you wrap it up? I just want to thank absolutely everybody on the team and the board, but I really need to specifically shout out to Natasha. I was brand new in this job, and Krista called me and said, hey, are you on top of this redistricting thing? I'm like, what are you talking about? And she said, I think Natasha's on it. And Natasha was on it and managed the process beautifully along with everybody else up there. So thank you, Natasha.
I also want to thank Natasha because it was my first time as chair at the county, and I've never been through the redistricting. And it was a lot what you pulled together, and we appreciate all that you and all the staff did. There's this resolution with the help of Natasha to help me as the board chair to thank everyone and memorialize everything that staff did. But I also want to thank NDC, all of the team at NDC, Doug Johnson and Doug Yoakum, for your patience with all of the supervisors. And I just want to say thank you to the supervisors, because I don't know if everyone really, I don't know, I have a feeling you all feel the same way I do, that this is a very painful process to go through, giving up a piece of something that you hold special and dear, and people who you really love and want to represent well. And I want to thank Supervisor Desmond for being the hole in the donut. I know it was painful at times what we were trying to negotiate through, how we're going to work this out, because Sue didn't have enough, and it had to go through Desmond to get to Frost. And so that was, it felt like, at times felt like horse trading, which isn't a really nice word to say, but how else do you say it? I'll take this, or how can we work this out? And I'm so glad we only do this once every 10 years. So with that, I have a resolution here that was prepared, and I'm going to just go ahead and read it, because I think there's a lot of important information, at the risk of being repetitive, a little bit repetitive. And so this resolution is in appreciation of the county staff for their work on 2021 redistricting. Whereas the County of Sacramento is required to adopt a new map redrawing the supervisorial electoral district boundaries by December 15, 2021, following the decennial census using population-adjusted data, and the legislature passed the Fair Maps Act, AB 849, Bonta, Chapter 557, Statutes of 2019, establishing new criteria and timelines for the redistricting process. And whereas, in compliance with the Fair Maps Act, and the county held 2 Board of Supervisors meetings to provide information about the 2021 redistricting process, held 6 public workshops in supervisors' districts, and 3 virtual workshops to provide information about the 2021 redistricting, and to receive input into the process, including communities of interest, and held 6 public hearings 2 of which were held after 6 p.m. to receive input from the board and the public on the redistricting process, including feedback on proposed district boundary maps. And whereas the county staff worked countless hours to ensure that the redistricting process was well administered and that the public was informed about how to meaningfully participate in the Board of Supervisors 2021 redistricting. And whereas the public submitted more than 200 written comments and provided public testimony at the board meetings and workshops, making suggestions for redistricting and supervisorial boundary lines, as well as submitted their own maps for consideration, either hand-drawn or using mapping tools available. And whereas many county departments were instrumental in the success of the 2021 redistricting, including the following departments: Department of Technology provided overall project management and IT support for online and hybrid meetings. Voter registration and elections led the community engagement efforts, ensuring all interested stakeholders were informed of the process, as well as facilitated the public and virtual workshops. The clerk of the board managed agenda materials, calendaring and noticing for all meetings and hearings, as well as ensured interpreter services were there and available. The Office of Governmental Relations and Legislation managed and led the redistricting project from start to finish and ensured the county was compliant with all legislative requirements and followed best practices for redistricting efforts. County Council advised and ensured that the county adhered to all legal requirements of redistricting. The Office of Public Information led the community outreach efforts, including working with IT and design to develop 2021 redistricting website, drafting and distributing all articles and social media posts relating to the process, and communicating with the community-based organizations to partner on getting the word out about 2021 redistricting. And the county's GIS team assisted with research, line checking, map drawing, and production. Now, therefore, be it resolved and ordered that the Board of Supervisors does hereby recognize and commend the dedicated work of the county's public servants for managing the 2021 redistricting process and ensuring that the public and all interested stakeholders were well informed and provided with several ways to participate in the redistricting process. And with that, I just want to thank Ann Edwards, our top person in the county, the CEO, and everyone who participated. Thank you for your effort and for making it something very hard for the supervisors, as easy as it could be. You're to be celebrated. Thank you.